I think for me, I would really like to look at it more as a role of media and take all this kind of media put together and saying they're all ways of communicating stories, and they're very powerful tool to bring awareness, prevention, education, protection in areas of social justice, especially when it affects children and women and men. You know, I think it's so powerful, and I think we all have, being in the field, we have a responsibility to use this right. UNICEF did a couple of really interesting campaigns. One was how to bring the child soldier back into society, and they were able to show a child soldier really being a child who really would have rather danced than you know, had guns, or they wanted to play an instrument and not use a gun on people. But because they were forced to be child soldiers, the issue there was that society saw them as killers, but they truly were not. They were forced to be. So how do you bring the soldier back? It was called Bring the Child Back, and that was the program. And it was really very effective because they showed these kids who really wanted to be kids. And you know, society had to see them a different way, and that was, again, the role of advertising. It went along with TV commercials, and it went along with press ads and a public relations campaign where they were saying, we've, you know, been able to rescue all these soldiers. Are you willing to take them in as a child and not look at them as a murderer?
You know, there's probably a lot of lack of awareness, or maybe even full understanding, that advertising and public relations, one of its major roles is actually for social good. And so the Ad Council in particular exists. It's been actually around since the end of World War II to actually make sure that we are understanding and listening to social issues and responding to that. And for public relations, first of all, even if understanding how PR has a role in really just getting out even public information, like in the public health sector. If you go back through the Ad Council over the years, they were actually talking about pollution and saving our national parks, things like that, before, again, kind of like going green, and climate change, environmentalism was sort of trending even. So even to talk about drunk driving, or when we should wear seat belts, having those public messages out there actually has even influenced legislation. It influences public perception, and it actually then creates social change. There's really well-established models in the healthcare community where people of like cultures actually being like health educators is a much more successful model than thinking that everyone's going to go to their doctor and get health information. And so that's just, to me, really not, it's not a superficial campaign then. It's actually more of a grassroots, a community-based effort where you're truly supporting the needs of the women in that community, not just trying to promote to them or publicize something. And so even though you have a beautiful website, even though you have a beautiful spokesperson, even though you have really off-the-charts awesome social media, you could actually be doing more concrete, meaningful social change if in fact the company was willing to invest more, again, at a local grassroots level to really fund like more public health. I use the Ad Council's Love Has No Labels in class. I think it was a really important effort by the Ad Council. If you aren't aware, it was Valentine's Day last year, where it was like an X-ray machine. So when you see these people who are obviously embracing each other, it just looks like everybody's happy, and then they come out and they're different religions, different ages, different sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, you know, again, all kind of different expressions of diversity, race, ethnicity, all of that. And you look at people in the crowd, and some people are like cheering and really supportive, and some people are sort of shocked, and you can see that, again, stereotypes and bias are just absolutely a part of society today. But what was a bummer to me is when you dig into the campaign, same type of thing. There's a beautiful website, there's beautiful advertising, there are really, really important and notable collaborators, like the Anti-Defamation League. But when you try to dig in to say, okay, what are they really trying to do to educate maybe kids in K-12 schools, collegiates, you know, even just any of us in the community, there weren't a lot of resources there. So in a way, again, it's sort of this, like in public affairs, we would call this grass tops. So it's like there's a lot of glitz and glam at a really high level, but where you really need to get information down into people, where it takes a lot of time, it can be really tough. really resource intensive. It could cost a lot of money, but that's where you'd have to have some genuine collaborations, right? Even with a lot of organizations here on campus, you might really want to make some change in relationship to meaningful inclusion to then do something. So then you dig into the campaign, it was a bummer. There wasn't a lot of substance there. Or, okay, you did it on Valentine's Day last year, what's the next phase of it? So that's what you did for the first 6 months, now what's coming out now, and with everything that continues to happen, like even here on campus, with Black Lives Matter, why isn't there some kind of response? It feels like it could be more real time in a more living campaign that would respond to that. Even HIV awareness, and really addressing education, prevention, managing that really significant public health challenge as well. It was always really central to more of the PR field. So again, even if you didn't label, well, there's like a PR agency behind that, it was still similar PR techniques about having spokespeople, having people who really simplify maybe a complex or misunderstood issue, and really being willing to speak out, rally other people who have a similar interest, real meaningful relationships, and gather people to then demand some kind of action. So there wasn't enough research for breast cancer, or there weren't enough treatment options. And HIV, we were just something that people were afraid of, it was misunderstood, and then rallied the pharmaceutical companies to come up with new medications. And make sure again that we were preventing the spread. So really powerful public health accomplishments, but not always, I think, an understanding that PR was central to it. More and more companies now are what are called for-benefit corporations. So it's sort of the TOMS model, but if you meet certain standards related to how much money you actually donate to charity, how many volunteering hours your employees do, and really again maybe the percentage of your profits that you actually put back into a social cause, then you qualify to become a for-benefit corporation. But that more and more companies want to exist to actually have their profits address some type of a social issue. And the reason why they want their businesses to have that more sincere end is because they understand consumers are expecting it. That there's just this expectation that if you want us to even consider your product or your charity, we need to see that you're actually contributing and making a difference in a real, again, credible, legitimate way. So that's like with Unilever, they're going to like India, Asia Pacific, places and actually trying to address clean water, or address poverty, or address maybe human trafficking. So whatever the central issues are of that community, that they are seen as making an investment in some type of change.